Hi guys, it's Debbie. As we are now well into the year and the upcoming release schedule is more or less set, it's time to cover some of the movies I think are the most intriguing for this year. I previously discussed some of the titles I was excited for in an older video, but a lot has changed since then. And also I think it's interesting to discover lesser known projects that emerge throughout the year and end up becoming my favourites instead of the big titles. Remember, for example, how excited I was for Napoleon last year? Well, that didn't age well. And as always, I would love to hear what you're most excited about, what you're looking forward to watch. Let me know everything with a comment down below. The film I am definitely the most curious about is The Crow, the remake, reboot of the hauntingly beautiful 1994 film starring Brandon Lee. The original film tells the story of a man who returns from the dead to avenge his murder and that of his girlfriend. It's a masterpiece blending heartbreak, romance, darkness and gothic horror, and it became so influential on many films in the years following. So of course I'm curious to see how they bring all these elements together in this new adaptation. In reality, plans to make this film have been ongoing for the last, 15 years, during which basically every Hollywood actor was considered for the lead role. And I'm so relieved that some choices were scrapped, because how on earth were we going to have Jason Momoa or Bradley Cooper as Eric Draven? That would have just been plain stupid. In the end, they settled on Bill Skarsgård for the role, an actor who I love and who has been making a name for himself in the creepy but good looking scene, if you know what I mean. Another film I feel like we've been talking about for ages is The Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. As you know, I'm a huge fan of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I quite enjoyed the prequel Hobbit trilogy. However, to this day, I yet have to watch a single second of the Rings of Power series. I've heard so many conflicting reviews about it, and I didn't want to risk tarnishing my fond memories of the Lord of the Rings universe. I'm particularly curious about this new film because it looks like it takes a completely fresh and innovative approach to the subject material. It's an animated movie using hand-drawn animation reminiscent of traditional anime productions. Drawing visual inspiration from the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, the first images look impressive. What I really miss from the original Lord of the Rings films is the immense scale of the world and the sense of getting lost in it. Next up, we have the new Paddington film. I believe there are two types of people in the world: those who love Paddington and those who haven't seen it and judge it without knowing anything about it. Insert Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage.
Paddington 2 is incredible.
I fucking told you.
He's right. The Paddington movies are incredibly good and heartwarming. Yes, they're full-on family-friendly, but they really inspire you to just want to be a good person. In this third film, Paddington goes to visit his famous Aunt Lucy in Peru, but of course ends up getting stuck in a huge adventure. In the Paddington trilogy, the second movie where he ends up in jail was even better than the first one, so I have really high hopes for this third chapter. Next up is a film I already mentioned in my previous video, Joker 2, Folie, Deux, a film many are eagerly looking forward to after the huge success of the first chapter. The first movie took a realistic and less superheroic approach to the Batman and Joker narrative, portraying the protagonist as an everyday person who snaps after enduring years of bullying. In my opinion, we would have been fine without a second movie, and I also have a feeling that director Todd Phillips was a bit pressured into making this following the massive success of the first film. However, I've been intrigued by this film since the first set photos were released. I'm particularly interested in seeing how the story unfolds and how Lady Gaga portrays Harley Quinn. Also, the musical aspect doesn't concern me that much. I don't think they'll be pulling a Wonka on this. Another film still in my radar since the previous video is Megalopolis, a movie which seems to be perpetually in the works. I mean, I guess it will be released in 2024 at this point. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, we should theoretically be in good hands, although you never know. The cast includes a plethora of well-known actors: Adam Driver, Lawrence Fishburne, Shia LaBeouf, Dustin Hoffman, Aubrey Plaza, Forrest Whitaker, Jason Schwartzman. And as I mentioned in my previous video, what attracts me to this film are these images of modern and old. This contrast of a modern environment, these people dressed in ancient Greek clothing, and apparently it's the story of an architect who wants to rebuild New York City after an immense disaster. Another film I'm curious about is Nosferatu by Robert Eggers, one of the most promising upcoming directors who just turned up one day with, The Witch and The Lighthouse and The Northman. All the Nosferatu films, I believe, are a sort of remake of the OG Dracula story. I didn't want to use the word bootleg. And apparently this version is one Eggers has been trying to make since the days of The Witch, so it must be a very passionate work of his. Known for his knack for creating unsettling atmospheres, Eggers is likely to deliver a chilling movie even if it weren't a straightforward horror. The star-studded cast includes Bill Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Nicholas Hoult, and Lily Rose Depp, who I am praying will hopefully act better than her recent series, The Idol.
I wish you, like, all the best.
That translates to get the fuck out of here.
Another film that has caught my interest is Love Lies Bleeding, although I'm a bit scared that it could fall into that category of very well publicized A24 films which end up being disappointing, as it has happened in the past. However, when A24 does something well, they do it great. Plus, I'm a huge fan of Kristen Stewart, so to be honest, I also want to watch it for her. Apparently in this film, her family has a criminal background and she drags her new lover into a big mess, let's put it like that. Kristen Stewart is actually in another film this year, Love Me, alongside Stephen Yeun. The movie is set in a post-apocalyptic world and follows the journey of a couple trying to survive in this harsh environment. As for further information about it, we'll just have to wait and see. Then lastly, I mentioned how excited I was for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes because I loved the previous trilogy. However, after seeing the trailers, I'm going to retract that. Perhaps my love for the character of Caesar plays a role, given that this film is set decades after his death. In this new world, humans are now the minority in hiding. I don't know. As always, the effects look great. They already were like 7 years ago, so imagine now, but it just didn't tell me anything. Instead, a film that started to grow on me is Challengers. I really like Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name and Bones and All, and this new film of his starring Zendaya, it's starting to tickle my curiosity. It's about a champion tennis player and apparently a triangle that forms both in her professional and love life. The scene from the trailer where Zendaya, Josh O'Connor, and Mike Weiss seem to be getting down for a threesome nearly broke the internet, and I'm curious to see more. For now, I think these are the big films I'm excited to watch. I'm also curious about Dev Patel's directorial debut with Monkey Man. I'm curious about Smile 2, as the first film really freaked me out. Another horror I'm curious about is Cuckoo, starring Hunter Schafer. I'm somehow also super bizarrely curious about Sasquatch Sunset, and I would be curious about It Follows 2, but it looks like it's highly unlikely to be released already this year. But now, what are you looking forward to the most? What are you excited to watch? What did you think about these titles I mentioned today? Let me know everything with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.